I did not want to make a video about this, but I must address this lunacy and stupidity, and this has been a long time coming. I've been meaning to make a video about this person for the longest time, but I decided to keep pushing it off and ignoring it because I kept saying to myself, well, that's just their opinion. It really doesn't affect me that much. It's harmless. That's what they want to think. That's fine and dandy. But now this person has jumped the shark. They crossed the line, they went overboard, and now I gotta call them out for it. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and I was just chilling in my room today, working on my next anime review, which will be coming out after this video. And I decided to go onto Twitter to see if I got any tweets, any messages from anybody. And I saw that my good friend Real School, please go check him out. He's a really great movie reviewer on YouTube. In fact, I would say he's the most underrated movie reviewer on YouTube. Posted a screen cap of a tweet by Grace Randolph, who is also a movie critic here on YouTube, and somebody that I have many mixed feelings about. While I appreciate her opinions on certain topics, especially when it comes to the box office, I personally love her movie math. I watch it regularly. In fact, I watch it religiously whenever it comes out. But then there are other times where she makes these editorials that I feel like are way off course, way out of left field, and just they don't hit the mark for me. They feel kind of preachy or condescending. Like she did one about women in film, and you know, I have no problem with women being in film, but I don't think I need to be talked down to at the same time, and that's what it felt like watching that video. And I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with Grace Randolph. Some films I agree with her opinion. Other times I'm like, that is so off the mark. Where are you even coming from? I think the thing that killed it for me was her love of Batman v Superman. And that's just one example of many. I have no idea why she loves that film so much. And she even claimed in a post that it was the shining of the superhero genre. Do I even need to say more? Anyway, so he posted a response to Grace Randolph's tweet in regards to Blade Runner's influence on the sci-fi genre. She stated that, you know, it influenced anime and manga and nothing else, and he took a personal offense to that, to the point where he responded like, no, it also impacted a lot of filmmakers, which I do agree, and I'm kind of shocked that for a cinephile like Grace, and I don't really know how much of a cinephile she truly is, but if you're a cinephile, you have to acknowledge the significant impact that Blade Runner had on the film industry and on future filmmakers. And this is coming from somebody that wasn't a fan of the original Blade Runner. Yes, I didn't like the original Blade Runner. I don't understand why people love it so much. But I acknowledge its impact and its significance in film history and its impact on future filmmakers. And I can acknowledge that there are things about it that were quite groundbreaking. It's one of the first sci-fi films that took its story very seriously, had a very dark and ominous tone, and wasn't goofy the whole time. And it's one of the first sci-fi films that takes a futuristic world and places it in a somewhat realistic and believable setting. Like, the world of Blade Runner seems like a world that can exist in our real world today. Whereas most sci-fi films, they'll take place in a galaxy far, far away. You see like a bunch of aliens and weird looking creatures and flying cars and everything. And while Blade Runner does have flying cars and has robots and all that stuff, or I should say AI, what are they called again? Ooh, replicants. They have replicants in it. Most of it looks very normal. It feels grounded in some sort of reality. And that is a groundbreaking thing about Blade Runner. I can't think of a sci-fi film before Blade Runner that took that approach. So that must be acknowledged. And the fact that she kind of brushes it off like the Blade Runner film wasn't all that significant, nobody cares about it, it's not a hallmark of the sci-fi genre. No, Grace, I can't let you get a pass for that. You know, as much as I don't like the film, you must acknowledge its significance. You can't just push it away because you don't like Blade Runner. And I know you don't. You stated it before, and you also didn't like Blade Runner 2049. You can't project your own opinions onto other people and say, you know what, my opinion is the most valid opinion in the room. You have to hear people out. And I think mostly my problem with Grace is not about her opinions, it's the way that she responds. It comes off very elitist. It comes off as somebody that's not willing to listen to the peasants' opinions because they think so highly of their own.
You think your opinion is so important and so right that if other people, heaven forbid a majority of people, disagree with your opinion or have an opinion that's different than yours, you're so weak-minded that you have to come up with and conjure these despicable ulterior motives. Wait a minute. No. My opinion is the right opinion. That's the difference between you and me. Like, you and me are on the same side. We're pro Batman vs. Superman. And believe you me, Grace, there ain't a lot of us in this world, but there's a few of us. And we got to stand strong. But the difference between you and me is that when my buddy John Schnepp, who I know was dying to see Batman vs. Superman, he couldn't wait for that movie, and he was disappointed by it. See, the difference between you and me is that when I come across a John Schnepp who doesn't like Batman vs. Superman, I just go, okay, let's talk about it. Boom, 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 boom. Why did you like it? Why did you not like it? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I go, okay. Whereas you would go, you are a DC hater. You have an agenda against Warner Brothers. And you see, that's the difference between you and me, Grace, is that I'm cool if people think different things. I'll still stand by my opinion. But unfortunately, you, Grace, what you seem to do, because you love the movie and that's great, but you haven't seemed to be able to come to grips with the fact that it's okay for you to love the movie and okay for other people to hate the movie.
But we're all different, Grace, and we have to hear each other out. Just because there's not an agreement between us doesn't mean that we can't be civil about it. She comes off very condescending and belittling whenever she responds to people, and I'm going to show you examples of that. Because I actually traced down where this original tweet came from, and it starts off with this guy called Jerry at Bedside Milk, who was kind of upset that Denis, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, let's just call him Denis V, didn't get nominated for Blade Runner 2049, which I actually would have been okay with, because if there's one thing I liked about Blade Runner 2049, the direction was awesome. And I think the cinematography is incredible. Oh, and I guess I should state this for the record. I didn't get to review Blade Runner 2049 because I was afraid of what the backlash I would get for my opinions, because I thought Blade Runner 2049 on my initial viewing was kind of underwhelming. I was expecting so much from the film and it let me down. But in my second viewing, I thought it was a solid sci-fi film. I won't say it was groundbreaking. I agree with Grace on that opinion. I agree with Grace on that level that it's not a groundbreaking film to me. And we don't know whether or not it will be groundbreaking until years later into the future to see the significant impact it has on the industry and on future filmmakers. That's how you know a film is groundbreaking. You have to see its impact over the years. You know, no one thought when the original Blade Runner came out that was a groundbreaking film. In fact, it was a polarizing film. It got negative reviews. It was shunned by a lot of critics. But years later, we noticed the impact it had on many filmmakers and on the sci-fi genre, that we now acknowledge that it is a groundbreaking film. It's more of a hindsight sort of thing, and I think that's going to be the same thing with Blade Runner 2049. We'll realize whether or not it is a groundbreaking film years into the future when we see if it has any sort of cultural or significant impact. Anyway, so Jerry says Denis V made a groundbreaking film in 2017 and wasn't nominated. Don't you forget him. I just want to state this. This is another side rant, I'm sorry, but fuck the Golden Globes. Who takes the Golden Globes seriously? This is an honest question. Who here takes the Golden Globes seriously? Who? I never take the Golden Globes seriously as a legitimate award show and as a legitimate award. I don't like the Golden Globes. I don't waste my time with the Golden Globes. That's why you didn't hear me talk about it at all, because I don't give a fuck about the Golden Globes. I only care about the Screen Actors Guild, the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild Awards, the Independent Spirit Awards, the Academy Awards, of course. Those are the ones I take seriously, not the Golden Globes. But back on track, so he stated that, and Grace responds, it's not groundbreaking if nobody goes see it, winky face. Again, it's not about your opinion, it's about your approach to answering somebody else's tweets. It's about your response. And that response right there, it comes off as arrogant and smug, Grace. It's not groundbreaking if nobody saw it. But, sir, if you could have said, while I understand why you see that it's groundbreaking, a lot of people didn't see it as groundbreaking, myself included. And I'm also saying that as Grace and myself. And if you responded like that, I don't think you would have gotten such a backlash, such a fervor. But because you came off so condescending and a bit of an asshole, people were like, wow, you're kind of a prick. I mean, seriously, look at that post again. It's not groundbreaking if nobody goes to see it. Really? Really? There have been many films throughout the decades, throughout the century, that didn't get a lot of people watching it, but are considered hallmarks of film history. There are films out there that were so great that nobody saw, and it breaks my heart to this day. A good example of this was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a heavily underrated comic book film that I myself would consider quite groundbreaking. But not a lot of people saw it. There wasn't a lot of buzz of it in the media. It was basically shunned and dead on arrival. And it breaks my heart because that was such a great film. If you're a fan of comic book films, comic books, anime, action, cartoony action, this is the film for you. This was the film we've always been waiting for. And it was just handled so well. Everything about that film, in my opinion, is excellent. It's almost a near perfect film. And the attention, the little details and Easter eggs scattered throughout the film it's beautiful. But now back to Grace Randolph. I'm sorry about that sidetrack. This leads into Chris R.R. Davis's response. And he says, if you're judging groundbreaking by attendance, then tell that to Citizen Kane, The Wizard of Oz, It's a Wonderful Life, Shawshank Redemption, and the original Blade Runner, which adjusted for inflation made less than $20.49. She responds, Citizen Kane, A Wizard of Oz, and It's a Wonderful Life, all nominated for Best Picture, along with slew of other noms. That statement right there contradicts your previous statement, though. You yourself stated earlier that it can't be groundbreaking if nobody goes to see it, yet here you're saying that those films are groundbreaking because they got a bunch of nominations. But not a lot of people saw it. You kind of defeat your own argument there. She continues to go on that Shawshank is not groundbreaking, which I kind of agree with her in a sense, but I also I can hear out an argument for it being groundbreaking. I think it was one of the first Stephen King, it's one of the first films that adapted a Stephen King novel or short story that took a more dramatic approach. Because most of the adaptations that we know Stephen King for were for his horror stories. This was the first one that actually adapted a drama type story that he made. Now, that's an argument I'll make for that, but although it wasn't groundbreaking, it was culturally significant and had a huge impact on not only moviegoers, but also aspiring filmmakers. Hell, Frank Darabont, in my opinion, is one of the top 10 greatest directors of all time, and he's only directed 3 films. It goes to show you that although he isn't prolific, he's so excellent at the craft of directing and filmmaking that he had such an impact. And you could argue, because of that impact, Shawshank Redemption is a groundbreaking film. And the original Blade Runner, influential in manga and anime, but not anywhere else, and its sequel bombed. Tweet me when Blade Runner 2049 sweeps Oscar noms. Now this was the post that Real School responded to. And again, I agree with what he said. I don't agree that only manga and anime were inspired by Blade Runner. I guess you were just thinking about Ghost in the Shell because it copied it nearly verbatim. The original Ghost in the Shell was kind of a copy of Blade Runner. When watching back, I'm like, wow, it actually touches on many of the same topics that Blade Runner touched, although I personally feel like it did it in a much more intelligent fashion. And it really challenged the audience to think outside the box when it came to its storytelling. And even now, with Blade Runner 2049 compared to Ghost in the Shell 2017, visually, both of them are very similar. They tackle different issues, and one tried to be an overblown bullshit action film, and the other one tried to be an intellectual sci-fi film. But I don't agree with that whole statement that it only influenced anime and manga. Again, Blade Runner was a significant film in the sci-fi genre because it inspired so many filmmakers and inspired a new trend when it came to tackling sci-fi. From Blade Runner, we saw a big boost in sci-fi films that dealt with artificial intelligence, like Terminator. We saw films like Gattaca that were smart and intellectual but still lived in a sci-fi setting. We had films like The Matrix that was mind-blowing and groundbreaking as well. So you can't deny that it had some sort of impact outside of manga and anime. Did it have an impact on manga and anime? Yes. It's clear as day. But it also had an impact here in America. Don't undermine that. Don't undermine that. Alright, moving on. Chris responds, yes, they all got Oscar nominations, but they didn't make much money, which, by your original reply, is what mattered. Not many people see the BP nominees, they don't see the BP nominees that aren't available everywhere. Influence is determined by how it affects the future of film. I agree with that statement. And that's why I think we kind of need to dial it back when it comes to Blade Runner 2049. We don't know whether or not it will be a groundbreaking film at this moment. We'll only learn that years into the future to see what type of impact it will have on future filmmakers and on the genre itself. So to that, I do agree with Grace to some degree that it isn't groundbreaking, but the problem with what Grace is saying is that she comes off as arrogant, elitist, condescending, and it doesn't really give her a good image. And I kind of think it's a spin in the face for somebody that considers herself a cinephile or a lover of filmmaking not to acknowledge the significant impact of Blade Runner. Whether you like the film or not, you can't deny its incredible impact. So yeah, I just needed to vent all that out. I'm sorry for this long rambling video. I had to let this out because this really angered me. And Grace, you need to stop this, you know. You need to understand, you need to know how to properly respond to people and not come off so arrogant all the time. Why do you always come off so confrontational? You know, I know that you might not agree with a lot of our opinions, but don't treat our opinions as if they don't mean anything. You have to treat us with the same respect that you want us to treat you. If you don't want us to respond in vitriol and vile, then don't say things that are arrogant like, well, it's not groundbreaking if nobody saw it. That's not going to win you any fans. That's not going to win people over to you. Maybe bring yourself down to their level, see where they're coming from, and then respond. That's at least how I respond to people here on YouTube and on Twitter. I come down to their level, I try to see what they see, and then I respond in kind. And I'll say, while I see where you're coming from, I still don't agree, and here's why. You don't do that. You come off very snarky and quippy, and you think you're funny, but that's not funny. It comes off very mean-spirited. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm going to get back to working on my anime review because I need to get that out soon, and I have the top 10 list coming. Thank you guys for listening. Grace, stop this, alright? And really, it's hard to take your opinion seriously when you praised Batman v Superman. I just have to put that out there. I can't forget about that. I have a very skewed look on how you view films from here on out. But I will still continue to support your movie math because I do like your input, your insight there. Other than that, I'm done with you. I don't want to watch any of your movie reviews. I don't want to hear your opinions about any movie. I just want you to do the movie math. That's it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the anime review. Whew! Glad to get that off my chest. Peace, YouTube!